the premier sports talk radio, it's Tony's Takes.
Here we go.
Hey, welcome back to another great episode of Tony's Takes live right here on YouTube for the best show in sports talk radio. It's Tony's Takes, and of course, not alone in the studio. Sitting next to me is my co-host, Jimmy D. Jim Jam. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm here.
He's here. He was a little late to the studio. Not the first time in local Philadelphia radio that someone's been late to the studio. If you know, do you know what I'm referencing?
No.
We'll have to talk about it off air.
I need to know this.
About your boy Joe DeCamera showing up late
to
the 94.
Yeah, he tends to do that, yes.
That was funny. Welcome to Tony's Takes, another great episode. It's been a week. Who would have thought? And on today's episode, we're going to be talking about a lot of great things from, first of all, St. Joe's securing their first win of the season. I think we all kind of knew it was going to happen at one point. Didn't think it was going to happen against Albany, but as the saying goes, Albany, anytime, anywhere. And they got the win, and it felt really, really good. Of course, burying the lead, James Harden got traded to the Brooklyn Nets, and 76ers fans all around the Delaware Valley area, and mainly most of the listeners of this show are 76ers fans, are probably feeling a little bit down, but I've been doing some research, and first of all, I'm not sad about James Harden. Let's use a better word. I'm not sad that James Harden isn't in Philadelphia. It would have been nice to have him. Not going to make any bones about it. I'm not going to be one of those people who go, he's not that great of a player. No, James Harden's a great player. But there are other fish in the sea, and I'm not too worried about it. And I'm not too worried about the 76ers championship window, quote-unquote, closing. Not worried about it. And we'll go into that and all that good stuff. Doug Pederson got fired. And I know Jim's going to want to talk about, we'll talk about the Doug Pederson stuff later in the show. That's at the half-hour mark, so at 7:30. That's when we'll talk about Doug Pederson for all those crazy Eagles fans out there on YouTube listening to Tony's Takes. We know you love the Eagles, and it's kind of hard when we kind of morphed into a show that talked about the Eagles just because there was nothing going on. Now that St. Joe's is back, now that the Sixers are playing, basketball is back on Tony's plate. But I can't ignore the Eagles after talking about them all season long. So we'll get into Doug Pederson. Don't worry about it. And then finally, we got a big podcast coming up with the Gola Standard podcast. I will say out their Twitter handle later because I don't have it in front of me, but I'll make sure that all the fans of Tony's Takes can connect their way to the guys over at the Gola Standard. That way we're all on the same page. All our fans, we're making a community of A10 Atlantic 10 basketball. And so that's why we're kind of doing this. It's a lot of fun. We had Tyler from the 3 Bid League pod on the show back in November. Now we're having the Gola Standard guys to come over and we're going to preview St. Joe's LaSalle. And so it's going to be a good episode. That one won't be live. That will be on the Apple Podcast version, but a little house cleaning to start today's show. So let's get into it. I want to start with James Harden. We're going to get into St. Joe's. We're going to get into we got some mailbag questions today. But I just want to say a few words about James Harden, jump to St. Joe's, get into the details about St. Joe's and Atlantic 10, and then we'll hop back to the Sixers to talk about the Nets in total. So, James Harden, disgruntled. This is a different situation than Anthony Davis had in New Orleans. In some ways, it's similar. In other ways, it's different. I like to think it's a little bit different. However, these are the details of the trade for those who live under a rock. The Nets are receiving James Harden from the Rockets and a 2024 second-round pick from the Cavs. The Nets are getting rid of Jared Allen, Taurean Prince, I don't even know how to pronounce that other name, and then Karis LeVert. So those are the main. The other guys are G League guys. The Karis LeVert, and then a slew of picks, right? They got like 8 picks that they're just getting rid of, which anyone's a Boston fan knows what trading away picks like this can do to a franchise. So it's a risky trade. You're trading a lot of picks, really good bench players, really good starters. I mean, you can't deny the fact that Karis LeVert and Jared Allen are really good players. They are. The Rockets, in return, are getting Karis LeVert and they are getting a third-round pick, a fourth-round pick, four first-round picks. Sorry, misread that. And 3 first-round picks as well from different years. 4 of them have pick swaps, 3 of them don't. And then the Cavs, they got thrown in there because these were majority of these picks are kind of like sprinkled in. Some of them are coming from the Cavs, but the Cavs are pretty much getting Jared Allen for free, which is kind of crazy. But here's my point. I'm bringing it to the 76ers. Why didn't the Houston Rockets take Ben Simmons straight up? Straight up. If Ben Simmons was such a star, as we in Philadelphia like to think he is, then he would command not the exact package that Harden did, but he would command a package where a team is willing to get rid of 3 guys in 5 picks to get him. That's what they did for Anthony Davis. That's what they did for James Harden. Now, Ben Simmons, I never thought he was a top 10 player, but if he's a top 15 player, why didn't the Houston Rockets take Ben Simmons in 2 picks and call it a day? Why were they haggling over? They were haggling over Matisse Thybulle. They were haggling over Maxey. They're haggling over bench players who are rookies and sophomores in this league. Why are they haggling over these type of players? We got Tobias Harris for a pretty much the same package of what they wanted to give Ben Simmons away for, and Ben Simmons is a much better player. So I just don't understand why Philadelphia fans think they have a star if the market's not commanding it. Clearly the market's not commanding it. And I just want to read this excerpt from Spike Eskin real quick. And this is what he wrote about Ben Simmons. While I was hopeful that the Sixers would trade for Harden, I was pretty steadfast in my belief that he'd end up in Brooklyn. Every time I said this, I was told that the Sixers had the winning hand if they decided to trade Harden for Ben Simmons alone. Because Ben Simmons alone was better than anything the Nets could offer. Guess not. It's true that Brooklyn offered a ton for Harden in terms of draft capital, but it's also true that Harden clearly didn't see Simmons. Houston didn't see Simmons. I don't know why I'm messing up today, Jim. Houston clearly didn't see Simmons as a player that they could build a franchise around. By and large, teams that are forced to move off of a star-level player will be looking to rebuild. When another star becomes available, there are teams like the New Orleans Pelicans and Oklahoma City Thunder that are better equipped for trades now. Perhaps Simmons' value is that high to some teams, but those have to be the same teams to be willing to offer the same sort of player the Sixers need. I simply believe the number of teams who honestly believe that they can build a competitor around Simmons, quote, Simmons and shooters, is very low. It's just not realistic. Some fast-paced team is great in our imagination, but the peak of said team in reality is something like a 46-win team that might surprise someone in the first round. He goes on, but that's Spike Eskin of Program Director at 94 WIP. I think his points are perfect. I think it's right on. And maybe this is why they pay him the big bucks to be the Program Director at 94 WIP. But he's right. I don't know what a Simmons-led team looks like. And I don't know if other people around this league are willing to do that when they think that they can draft Luka Doncic right out of the draft with all those picks. They can draft 3 Luka Doncic's with the picks that they have for how high those draft picks could be, because they go all the way into the future to where Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving are retired, and then the Nets are bad again, and it's like a Boston Nets situation. I see why Houston did it. If Ben Simmons was really that great of a star, Houston would have taken him and taken 1 of our picks or 2 of our picks, knowing that they have this 24-year-old who's franchise-changing. But I don't even think Ben Simmons can command that. He can't even command the draft capital or trade picks that Zion Williamson can. And that's just a fact. Jim?
See, Tony, here, maybe I can give you a little insight as to what I'm thinking of here. So, and I don't want to dehumanize any NBA players or anything, because they're people, they're hardworking and things change, their athletic ability is what they have. But Simmons is a unique player, and when I think of like collectors of valuable items and everything, when they have something so unique, sometimes it's really hard to sell that item because you need a specific buyer for it. And I think that's what Spike's getting at right here, is that maybe Houston isn't the right specific buyer for Ben Simmons.
You have to have someone with the appetite for that kind of player.
So they're going after like the rookies and the sophomore players because they might be a better fit as to what they're actually looking for,
right,
rather than creating a whole team around Simmons. There's no other 76ers out there. This team was built for Ben Simmons. So in order for another team to take on Ben Simmons, they're going to have to take on the project of creating a team for Ben Simmons. Because he's big enough and talented enough to be a great player, but he's not a great player that fits into any system. He needs a specific system that's for him. He needs these 3-and-D type players that are going to, help him out, help him look like a superstar rather than just somebody that can pass really well, can't really shoot, and plays really good defense.
Right. I see where you're seeing that in what Spike is saying, right? He highlights very certain teams in there, right? He goes, I'm losing. Oklahoma City and New Orleans Pelicans are the only ones who have like the assets to trade for a player like Ben Simmons, but why would they ever want him? One of those teams has Zion Williamson, and the other team has no one. Unless Oklahoma City thinks they're going to turn it around right away. So we'll see. But a team like Oklahoma City, they would be interested because if you think about it, they are a franchise that can't keep free agents, and Ben Simmons is locked in for the next 6 years or 5 years, and they're looking for those type of players to trade for that they know they can have around for a little bit.
Yeah, Ben's just a very specific key for a very specific lock. And that's really what it comes down to. Yeah,
and we got our first email in a very long time, so we're going to go to the mailbag, and to get in the mailbag, email us at tonystakes.1851@gmail.com. That's tonystakes.1851@gmail.com. If you're listening on YouTube, you'll see it going across at the bottom of the ticker of the screen. And if you're listening on YouTube, make sure you subscribe while you're here if you're not already subscribed. We jumped up in subscriber count over the last week, so thanks to all those who were able to do that and click the notification bell while they were there. So this comes from Blake. Do you know where Blake lives? Can we give him like Blake from
Summerdale?
Okay, we're going to do Blake from Summerdale. He emailed us with the subject line, hot take for podcast. This is a hot take. And he goes like this. This is Blake from Summerdale. Daryl Morey was right to refuse Houston's ridiculous demands for a Harden trade. Kyrie is going to end up retiring or forcing another trade because of his ego. And the Nets won't win anything before KD, that's Kevin Durant, and Harden's production falls off a cliff. Also, Tyrese Maxey is going to win the scoring title one day, sent from Blake's iPhone. Blake, thanks for emailing the mailbag. We're going to get right on your take. As promised, we always get and read the mailbag. Jim, really screwing up the mailbag and talking today. We always read takes that are sent to the mailbag. So once again, Blake, thanks for sending that in.
I thought I was the one with the long day, Tony.
I didn't foresee any of this happening. I was shocked when we got the mailbag email. It popped up on my phone. Had no idea we were getting one today. It's like a little Christmas present. And Jim, I got a Christmas present for you because we got another email that came in. But let's address Blake's comments first. I think he's right. I think Maxey is going to be the scoring champion. Maxey, for me, illustrates what James Harden could do with Ben Simmons. With Joel Embiid. The pick and roll, the ability to really... Maxey is a better scorer around the rim than Ben Simmons is. Has more finesse, has a little bit more touch. His layups are a little more graceful. How many times, Jim, have we seen Ben Simmons clank balls off the backboard because he's too forceful with his layups?
Yeah, and he's coming in way too fast.
He just doesn't have that touch.
Yeah, and Maxey, how many times do I see this perfect baseline floater?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And he can change his direction so quickly. Ever see him do the reverse? He drives to lane, spin reverse, little hook, little floater. It's
definitely a good look for the future for the Sixers, even beyond Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid, as long as we can keep Maxey here.
And that's the thing about Philadelphia. And we're taking the email in another direction a little bit, but Philadelphia has had issues drafting before. But I think Philadelphia's real issue is developing the draft picks. I'm watching the Nets, and there's Luau Cabarrot, and there's Landry Shamet playing on a championship caliber team. And then we have Maxey, and then I see Markelle Fultz playing pretty well. The 76ers had the eye for talent. It was just, did they invest enough in it? Maybe that's an indictment on Brett Brown. because those are all players that were on Brett Brown.
Well-
Now, Landry Shamet we traded away, and he looked like we made the right pick on him immediately, kind of like Matisse was a bit.
He was tremendous.
Yeah.
He could hit every three on the court. It didn't matter where it was. I remember that rookie season of his. I mean, I was shocked when they traded him. Shocked.
And maybe it's Elton Brand has a pretty good eye. He hasn't messed up, so.
Yeah, and the Sixers, they've had a player development problem for a while. I remember looking through job openings, and there was always spots open for player development for the Sixers, always. So it was a bad sign. Yeah, a little a sport teamwork online. That's what it was called, I think. We do have a comment in the chat from our mailbag sender.
Do it.
He says Rockets didn't want to do business with Morey. If they were going to make a deal, Houston wanted to make it hurt for the Sixers. It's not even about Ben's talent level / value. That's a little bit of a hot take.
If they were going to make a deal, Houston wanted to make it hurt for the Sixers. But why? Because it's Daryl Morey. That's what he's saying.
Yes, he's saying that they were slighting him.
I don't know, man.
I don't know. They took everything from the Nets.
They took a lot from the Nets. I think they were just going to search for that kind of pick regardless. However, I do understand what you're saying, and it's like it probably made negotiations like really awkward. Probably did make it tough for the 76ers in some regard. However, I think it's easier to put the Nets in that situation knowing that they have high expectations. They have players who they signed in free agency. The 76ers really don't have anyone that they signed and promised a championship to. Everyone on the 76ers came here willingly knowing that a championship wasn't guaranteed. And then the superstars have just been here their whole entire careers. A little different. Pressures are on organizations a little different. And I think you can squeeze one organization for a lot more when they have New York City, Kevin Durant, expects championships. We need to do this now. Give up everything. And plus, the depth on that Nets team was too expensive. Too expensive.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's get into St. Joe's. We have another mailbag. I'm going to keep the mailbag open, and we're going to read this one. This is from Mike from Rhode Island. He wrote this one today, and this was another little sweet surprise for me. So let's see what Mike has to say. Hey, Tone, I know someone's going to say it, so let me get ahead and respond no. Hagen Arena would not be a good choice to host the Atlantic 10 men's basketball tournament. It's a nice thought, but does it make logistical sense? The logical choice is to hold it at a larger public university in the conference. I'd advocate, no surprise, for URI to host, as Rhode Island has built one of the best COVID testing systems in the country. I'll hang up and listen. Sincerely,
whoa.
Mike from Rhode Island.
Whoa, I've been in that gym. You've been in that gym.
What gym you're talking about?
Wait, haven't you been there over at URI?
Yeah, we snuck into the building. We did
Yes.
our warm-ups there before.
Yes.
You probably did your warm-ups there for the 5K, and I did mine in there for the 3K.
Exactly. Do you really think that that's the place?
Well, they want a place that has two stadiums, and they don't have two
okay.
stadiums.
See,
So that's why Rhode Island's not going to be it, because they could have all the testing facilities in the world, but they're trying to have two games go. Game starts, game finishes, the next at the stadium down the street, the other game starts. You know what I'm saying?
Why don't we go Hagen and Gola?
I know, I've seen that. Our friends at the Gola Standard said that. Now imagine of the welcome to Philadelphia. Nothing says welcome to Philadelphia like getting on the Roosevelt Boulevard with a bus and trying to get over to the Gola Center. That would be such a pain in the butt. That road is like Mad Max. That would be terrible for those buses.
It's like 8 lanes.
It would make more sense to have it at Hagen, and the Palestra just goes straight down Lancaster.
That's true. Much
easier drive, or down the Schuylkill Expressway. That's even a better, like an easier drive than the Roosevelt Boulevard. You could do 3 with Philadelphia. Penn's not using the Palestra anytime soon. No one's doing anything at Wells Fargo.
Except
Well, Sixers.
Except
Well, the Sixers
Sixers,
won't.
yeah.
They won't let you do it. That's why they're getting kicked out of the Nets facility. Plus, it's New York, and they're not. That's why they're also getting out.
the Barclays Center it was awesome.
You could do Pittsburgh, but it would be Duquesne, and then where the Penguins play. And I don't even know if that stadium can host basketball. So we'll have to see. But I think I've seen Rhode Island's. It's nice. It's like Dayton. It's a big. Dayton's not a state school, but It's like Dayton in the sense that it's a really professional-looking stadium. It's a 2-level stadium. Hagan Arena is a field house. The Tom Gola Center is a field house. George Mason has an arena. You could do George Mason GW. That might make sense, right? They're right near each other. But I'm hearing rumors that the A10 tournament is going to be hosted Richmond, VCU, Siegel Center, right down there. Kind of spread out in Virginia a little bit, right? Richmond's not like a major metro, like DC, Philadelphia, New York, where Fordham and all the schools near us. Those are major metropolitan areas. Not as easy to drive a bus around. A lot of traffic, a lot of people, kind of annoying. It's nice when you have the glamour of the city, but with all the crazy stuff going on right now, I don't know if it makes sense. It's probably nicer to go to a more, I wouldn't say Richmond's rural, but it's more suburban, nicer area to go to, easier to get to. Not easy for St. Louis, but they have to get out here anyway. So that's what I'm hearing. That's what all the other writers at A10 Talk are talking about. Jim, I wish we could go to the A10 game. I've always wanted to go. I never went.
Got to pull some strings, Tony.
I could get a press pass.
You're a famous guy.
I'm not famous, but I could get a press pass. Maybe one day.
Almost famous.
Let's keep talking about St. Joe's. Let's just keep it going. So, Jim, I see this in the written notes.
Can I drop my question to you live on the air, Tony?
Yeah. Drop the question.
Where is this SJU defense that I keep hearing you talk about?
Yeah, and I was hoping you were going to bring this up.
Every week.
I'm not talking about it every week, Jim.
Every other week.
Okay, when I say their defense, I'm saying I'm seeing improvement. I'm not saying they're the best defense in the conference.
Tony, I'm seeing over 80 points to every A10 team they've let up. Over 80 points.
When I watch the beginning of these games for St. Joe's, I see guys swarming. If you watch the Davidson game, you see guys swarming. They kept it close. For how bad that offense was against Davidson for the first half, and it was bad for St. Joe's, because that's when the 15-point run happened. They were only down 8 at half, 5 at half, something like that.
9.
They were down 9? Okay,
down
yeah,
9,
because I was right when I said 8. That's not too bad. You're away. You're holding down a pretty decent Davidson team. I mean, if you go on a10talk.com and you go and check the power rankings.
Tony, I can't do math. It was 11.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Now I look like an idiot. And I'm going to put the A10 Talk power rankings in the chat for everyone. But Davidson is a solid 6 most weeks. This week they're a 7. But they're a good team. They're a team that is going to expect to make waves in the conference game. They have the most improved player of the year, I think. And so when St. Joe's goes out there and lays an egg against them, and that was really an egg without having Greg Foster Jr. or Ryan Daly, I don't know if we can ever expect to go into a game and think we're going to win a conference game. We upset Davidson last year, but that was because we had Ryan Daly scoring 20 points every game and helping us score inside. In those lulls, when you see those 15-point lulls for St. Joe's, yeah, that's because Ryan Daly's not there to score in the paint for the Hawks. And it's becoming evident that this St. Joe's team didn't train the guys that they needed to. Demir Bishop was and is a decent player, but he's been with the program for over 6 months and now coming up to his year anniversary. He had multiple days to help get prepared for the Billy Lang scheme. Now you could say all summer long, we weren't around. We couldn't even practice. True. But you were in contact with Billy Lang. Billy Lang's telling you what you can do to improve. And it's not like he can't share some facts about the offense or how this team is set up and how it's scheduled and how A10 opponents look on most years. You could still do all of that. Because everyone else, LaSalle has all these freshmen doing great. Well, they had the same issue that every other recruit had in the fact that they couldn't go to as many practices as they used to. And the fact of the matter is, we have Billy Lang, and I hate to say this, folks, I'd hate to say this, but I have Greg Foster Jr. who's been on the team, and Demir Bishop, and it seems like Billy Lang hasn't coached both of these guys up. Greg Foster Jr. hasn't played. I don't know where this guy is, and it's a detriment to the team that he's not out there every week, and who knows why that is. Once again, I said this last week, they're college kids. You don't know what they're feeling, you don't know what they're doing, you don't know what they're going through, so I can't speculate. all I can say is the truth is he's not on the court, and it's affecting the team. I don't know why he's not on the court, but all I know is we had him around for a full year. He was a Gonzaga recruit. He left. Okay, I was glad he left. Come to St. Joe's. We have him in the program for a year. We foster him for a whole year. Huh, get it? His last name's Foster. And he doesn't play at all. And I'm not hearing anything about injuries. You hear nothing about Ryan Daly's injury. Ryan Daly has to tweet out about his broken thumb because no one knows about it. And maybe the school's keeping that close to the vest for a reason. But it doesn't help the team. It doesn't help morale. It doesn't help the fan base when we don't know what's going on with the two players that probably are the best scoring options on this team, because after seeing Demir Bishop play, maybe Greg Foster Jr. was the better scoring option. So I don't know where St. Joe's is going to go in all of this. LaSalle doesn't look that great, and so I'm hoping to defend St. Joe's against the Gola Standard, and I'm thinking St. Joe's can still win a game. If they're going to sneak a game against anyone, it's LaSalle, because they just got embarrassed by George Mason. This St. Joe's team has a lot to figure out. They don't have Ryan Daly, don't have Greg Foster Jr. They're starting to play defense really well, but if Jimmy can come to me every week and go, they're still letting up 80 points, then you're right, it's not really that great of a defense, is it? They can't score. They've shot under 30% from three for, 8 of their 9 games or whatever it is? I wrote it in my A10 Talk piece when they beat Albany. And against Albany, they struggled. They're shooting 50% from the free throw line. Well, that's an indication of shooting form. That's an indication of how well you're practicing. That's an indication of how well you can concentrate while you're playing a game. That's an indication to show that you have good fundamentals. If this team can't even get the fundamentals right, how are we going to be a great team? Teams that aren't very talented, they win because they have decent fundamentals. And we can't even nail that. We have guys sitting around at St. Joe's for a year after being waived for the transfer portal. And Jack Forrest is playing more than all of them. So I don't know what the issue is. Well, I do know what the issue is. The issue is we have personnel who aren't playing. And the other issue is we're a team that only lost Tolliver Freeman last year, and we've regressed. Or we have gotten worse. St. Joe's has gotten worse. Now, we can all be patient. We can say it's only been year 2. Coach Ashley Howard at LaSalle, he's figuring it out still, which is true. But St. Joe's has higher standards right now. It's a fact. The Gola Standard guys, I heard it on their podcast the other week. St. Joe's has a much more vicious fan base, I guess is the word I would say. They're Philadelphia fans. They do care about Philadelphia sports. They have other things going on in their lives. But if St. Joe's isn't good, they complain. If St. Joe's isn't good, they won't go to the game. If St. Joe's isn't good, they may go to the game, but then they're going to boo you while you're there. I've been to a game when they stunk. You hear the boos. They come raining down. St. Joe's fans expect something. We have a long history. And we've had a good recent history thanks to Coach Phil Martelli. But if Jill Bodensteyer wanted to move on, which is fine, how do you say basketball is an asset when we're seeing regression? Why aren't we hearing from you more? You don't have to answer to me. I don't care. But I know that the fans care. And I can't force anyone to do anything. But I know for a fact, here's a little tip, right? Tony can tell the future. The more transparent you are, come out and say why Greg Foster Jr. is not playing. Come out and say, hey, Ryan Daly's arm's broken. Come out and say, hey, Billy Lang, we brought you in. You did great last year for what you had. You had a year to recruit. You brought in 2 transfers through the portal. You had a year with them on the roster. You have your recruits here now. Jordan Hall is killing it. Why is this team regressing? Be transparent. That way you don't leave all the people guessing, and the less transparent you are, the more guessing that's done, the more rumors are created, the more conspiracies are created. Transparency, talking frank, speaking the truth, and allowing media to ask the tough questions, that's the solution for St. Joe's, because that's what legitimate programs do. Duke can't hide from everyone. Now, I'm not saying St. Joe's has the same pull as Duke. They don't. But they get recognition in the city. People in Philadelphia talk about them. Jimmy, you said it last week. What'd you say? When the Hawks aren't doing well, what the fans would say to you when you're working the games? Random people.
Oh, yeah. They would just say, it's time for Martelli to go.
They care.
Yeah. People are in tune with the sport, especially with the Hawks. If you're coming to the game, people know a lot about the Hawks.
Yes.
And they pay attention year in and
they
year
know
out.
every person on that roster for St. Joe's.
Yeah, it's a very unique culture. If you're in it, you are 110% in it. You know everything about that team.
Yep.
And Tony, I just want to throw some facts at you for you.
Do it.
Last time Greg Foster Jr. played, do you know?
Was it against Drexel?
It was VCU. He hasn't played one game in 2021.
Oh, it was VCU, yes.
Yeah.
But I knew it was December.
It was December 30th. That was the last game he played. He hadn't played a game since Kansas.
Right.
Yeah.
But he had a concussion, so I'll give him a break there.
But still, we haven't seen him in 2021. The last game was December 30th. He scored like 3 points or something like that.
And we need him with Ryan Daly out.
Ryan Daly hasn't played since Tennessee. Now, you said he's injured.
He tweeted out himself that his thumb's broken.
Yes.
But the St. Joe's has never made any... They haven't really talked about it. They haven't tweeted it out.
Exactly.
And I don't think media's really asking the questions. And I can't get into the media.
Now,
I can't get into a presser to ask Billy Lang, hey, why isn't Greg Foster Jr. playing? When's his timetable to return? This team's struggling without Ryan Daly. How are you going to score if you have him and Greg Foster Jr. sitting on the court? Why isn't Demir Bishop driving to the rim more? These are questions. Demir Bishop's form, I don't know. He's just really unpolished.
He does not look good.
He's unpolished, yeah. He's a work in progress.
He doesn't. Well, you look at the Davidson game. 1 point and 2 rebounds in 30 minutes, basically.
And what was his shooting percentage? Because he just lets it go. That's what frustrates me, is watching him just release the ball from the three way more than... I've seen him finish around the rim. He can do it. Come on, get a little confidence. Get in there. Evan Lehman goes, media never asks the tough questions. Evan, you're right. Evan is a Temple owl. They ask Temple the hard questions. That's for sure. But St. Joe's? No, lollipops. Lollipops and rainbows and sunshine. That's what happens at St. Joe's. It's a disgrace.
I don't have his last game, but right now he's shooting 35%.
From the field?
From the field, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. St. Joe's can score around the rim. That's the other thing. Yeah, we're shooting threes like it doesn't matter. And then I tweet out, Billy Lang should hit the rim. Go and make the adjustment at halftime against Davidson. Sure enough, here they come. They're attacking the rim like crazy, and they closed it within at least under 10. They did it. They were able to do it. This team can score with inside. Jordan Hall is so good. It was funny. The 3-Bid League podcast made fun of us for thinking Jordan Hall was the baby Ben Simmons. He is. He's that good. He is that good. We have been vindicated. Tony's Takes is always right. You come here for the good takes, folks. And we were right about Jordan Hall. So maybe I'm right when I say drive to the lane. Get close to the rim. Score there. That's what made Ryan Daly great. We don't need to shoot that many threes.
Maybe Jill Bodensteiner should just hire you.
It is more effective to be efficient from three than it is to shoot a mass amount of them. That's just a fact.
Yeah, and I guess my main point with Ryan Daly and Greg Foster Jr. being out is that no matter what, even though they're out, it's still St. Joe's product that's being on the floor. This is still our revenue-based sport, right? This is the sport that they care the most about as far as,
it is
representing the school and bringing in an income, etc. I can go on. It's still the St. Joe's product, and you don't want to see. You'd rather see really good team basketball and them lose than to see what's been out there right now. It has not been good. So, I guess my suggestion is just to figure out a better scheme with the players that you have. This is what Billy Lang is meant to do. He's the coach. He's the guy that's supposed to figure this stuff out.
To think differently.
And this is his puzzle, and it's evident that he's not putting in the work right now.
Whoa, Jim, making the accusation!
It's evident. I mean, once it's out on the floor, you're losing by 20 points to pretty much everybody. You squeak by Albany by 3 points. No, that's not okay. So let's get this team back together, and let's figure it out. Ryan Daly, if he had a broken thumb, it's been a couple weeks since that, or it's been more than a couple weeks. So he should be on the mend and coming out soon. A broken thumb doesn't take that long to come back from.
I can't believe Jim went there. I think the fans of Tony's Takes kind of agree a little bit. We demand excellence on this podcast, folks. And Jim's calling out Billy Lang.
I can't go against the goalless standard and them lose to LaSalle by 20 points. I can't see another 80-60 game. It's not. I can't see that.
No, we can't do that. Okay, Jim. I think that's enough St. Joe's for the folks. Unless there's anything else you want to add.
No, that's it. Let's move on.
Let's move on.
Because I don't know if we're going to the Birds.
The other coach that you have a problem with? Let's go
we
to the other coach.
We need to have transparency
From
all
Philadelphia
around.
Eagles.
Yeah.
Okay, go for it. Start talking about the Birds.
I don't know if you're going to realize
another bird
where I'm going
from a
with
hawk
this.
to an eagle.
So with Doug's firing, obviously it was shocking to the city, to everyone.
We weren't expecting it.
There was a lot of people that were positive about it, mixed about it, and then just outright upset about it because he's the guy that brought the whole thing back to us in his second year. And I just want to take a second just to say thank you to Doug for everything he did. Like I said, he brought the Super Bowl trophy to Philadelphia that we never thought would ever happen. So I'm very grateful for that. That being said, I think this was just him being held accountable for what happened during the season. There's little murmurs of apparently disagreement between him and Jeff Lurie about where the future of the organization was going to go. Doug wanted to promote Press Taylor to the offensive coordinator, kind of hold Carson a little bit more accountable, maybe make Jalen Hurts the guy for the future. Who knows? That's all speculation right now. But there is a report that's coming out, and this is why transparency, I lead into it with this. There's reports stating that Howie Roseman had control of the roster lineups every week. So basically, Doug had no plan going into each week because he didn't know the personnel that was going to be on the field. Let's think about how hard that had to be for Doug every week. And that's why the play calling suffered. That's why nobody looked prepared every week. So my take is get Doug back on the phone right now, get him back here, and fire Howie Roseman. Because that is complete BS. That's utter BS that they let Doug go. And Howie was the one that was setting the personnel every week. If that's the case, if that really is a real report and it's true, I can't believe they let Doug go.
We have breaking news, but I'm going to say this real quick. You're right, but that would be so desperate. They can't do that. That'd be such a desperate move. They're not doing it.
You can't do it.
Obviously
you can't. It's something that I wish that they could do, but the genie's in the bottle. There's no more wishes. So
nope, there isn't. But breaking news, Jim. There we go. Get the music going. The intern's got everything rocking and rolling. MLB free agency alert for the Philadelphia Phillies.
Oh no. Don't tell me.
Reliever Archie Bradley agrees to a 1-year, $6 million deal with the Philadelphia Phillies, according to Sportsnet.
Okay.
I don't know who that is.
Yeah, that's not a big name to me.
Then why'd they ping it on my phone?
Okay. I thought this was JT Realmuto.
Breaking news, the Philadelphia Phillies have done nothing all year long, and they continue to do nothing about it, bringing in no-name relievers that no one has any clue about. They still don't have good starting pitching, and with the breaking new designated hitter rules in the MLB, who knows what the Phillies are going to do, because they have no starting pitching, and they have no relievers. And when they don't get a designated hitter, it's going to be an absolute mess. Jeb is a mess.
All right, Tony. So that was not as breaking as I thought it was going to be.
No, that was not as earth-shattering as we thought.
I swore you were going to give me Real Muto news.
Breaking news, Real Muto signs with the Yankees.
All right, so back to the Doug firing. Why does stuff like this come out after they fire the wrong guy? Is he now leaking stuff that he went through, and this is why he's contemplating taking a year off, because he just went through a year of stress hell, being torn by how he's setting the lineup and Jeff Lurie exerting pressure over him because they won a Super Bowl and they wanted to be hands-on now and now Doug couldn't do his job. Is that where it's going?
Oh, Howie Roseman really is a problem. But he is really a problem. It sounds like he's toxic to the environment of the culture. Eric Franklin goes, Archie Bradley's actually pretty good. Uh-oh, I'm going to have to get Eric on the horn. Doug Pederson was toxic to the culture. Not Doug Pederson. Howie Roseman. I'm getting all confused. Howie Roseman was toxic to the culture. Look at the Chip Kelly situation. That's all Eagles fans need to look at is the Chip Kelly situation. He got Chip Kelly fired. That's pretty much what he did. Jeff Lurie clearly likes Roseman. He fired Chip Kelly over it. They never got rid of Roseman when Chip Kelly became the general manager. He stayed in a closet somewhere in the back of the link, and then he came out and he stabbed, I mean, not actually stabbed, but he backstabbed him a little bit, Chip Kelly, and got him fired.
It was like an et tu Brute.
Et tu Brute moment.
Yeah.
And now he did it with Doug Pederson. If Philadelphia Eagles fire their coach after one bad season with a coach with a 500 record, who on this earth is going to sign with the Philadelphia Eagles as a coach, knowing that winning a Super Bowl and being well above 500, never missing the playoffs except for your first year, gets you fired? Why is Eric Bieniemy going to be interested in this job? Why is Urban Meyer going to be interested in Philadelphia? Why is Doug Pederson ever going to come back? Why would Andy Reid ever come back? Andy Reid has a dynasty going on right now, all because Philadelphia was impatient in a bad organization. Look how many times it took Andy Reid with the Chiefs alone to finally win a Super Bowl, and now they look like geniuses.
See, Tony, the one thing I'm thinking of here is the weekly roster, right? What was coming out onto the field. What did you see? J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. As soon as Jason Peters was available, he was always out. As soon as Alshon became healthy, he started over Travis Fulgham, even though they had somebody he had 3 touchdowns in 3 games at one point in the season.
think Alshon Jeffrey didn't want to play with Wentz.
Yeah, I can see that. Yes, I can see that.
Because Hurts is healthy, starting, and all of a sudden, there he is out there.
Well, it's crazy because you talk to any Eagles fan, and they're like, why are these guys playing? I don't understand why this guy is playing over the young guys that are making their way. And then you hear a report like this, and it's like, well, this makes sense. Howie just wants to look good. He wants to have the players that he picked and he signed to be the stars of the team. And, of course, this team suffered because of that. And I don't know how that's a reflection of what Doug did. When Doug is the only thing that it looks like Doug does now is team culture and call the plays on the field when he doesn't know who's playing. That's really it. You just have to make up calls that day.
Yeah. I'm going to go to the chat if that's okay with you, Jim.
Yeah, let's do it.
Eric Franklin, again, goes, Archie Bradley's actually pretty good, and he continues 2.95 ERA in 2020. Walsh2411 goes, the Foles-Peterson Philly statue is bad juju, and they need to remove it, or the team will be suffering from the curse of Big Nick forever. Sorry, can't read that word live on the show. And then Kristen, loyal listener, goes, I think Doug was ready to leave because he wanted to go with Hurts going forward, and Howie wouldn't let him. And for those who gave Doug a hard time for starting Hurts, I understand why he did it. If Wentz is underperforming, and you know your job's on the line, you put in the guy who's going to win the game for you.
There's no choice.
There was none. For those listening to Tony's Takes, thanks for listening to the show. Everyone's active in the chat today, and we really do appreciate it. If this is your first time here, make sure to subscribe to the show here on YouTube. Double-click the notification bell. That way you get notified every time we go live. Also, follow us on Twitter at Tonys_Takes. That way you get notified on your Twitter feed of when the show's going live and some of the takes that pop into Anthony or Tony's lovely brain. In addition, the mailbag. We read some stuff from the mailbag today, and it was excellent. We really appreciate everyone who took time to write us emails. And if you want to be one of those people who gets into the mailbag, email us, tonystakes.1851@gmail.com. Once again, that's tonystakes.1851@gmail.com.
The mailbag.
Yeah, that's right, Jim, the mailbag.
The mailbag.
Okay, Jim, let's continue moving on. Let's get back to the Nets. Because that was something we didn't skip over. But for the Nets, do you think that they are a championship caliber team now?
Well, yes. They were a championship caliber team.
But are they better than the
beforehand.
Lakers? Are they a better team now? And is Kyrie Irving actually going to retire?
No, they are not a better team now.
Okay.
I think that they were probably better off not trading for Harden in the long run. By the end of this season, you'll see.
Does Kyrie Irving retire? That's another rumor that's going around.
I think that's absurd. I don't think that there's any way. I think
He's been a problem for the team at least. But
sure, but
I don't think retirement. Yeah,
I think you'd get an AD situation before you get him retiring. I don't.
He's the master of that. He knows how to get traded.
Yeah. There's no way. Now, the Nets traded everything for Harden and a second-round pick. That's all they got back, right? That was the only thing they received. You went through it earlier in the show.
Correct.
I think that there's better players than James Harden right now.
Just better players who have actually won.
I think that there's better fat players than James Harden right now.
Who in mind?
Jokic.
Okay.
Who's playing MVP level basketball right now.
Right.
And he's never in shape. He's always a little overweight.
A little chunky.
Yeah. But that goes with his position.
That is true. Joel Embiid's a pretty big dude. Remember, Joel Embiid had to lose weight too.
I guess my counter question is,
Mm-hmm.
are the players that are better than Harden right now worth more than what he was just traded for?
No, I think it's all about timing.
Okay.
I think it's all about timing in the market. I think that the Nets kind of got unlucky. Who knows what the trade value would have been if they didn't wait for the whole Houston thing to just completely fall apart the way it did. They could have given up even more picks, right? Because picks don't impact the cap. You could give away 100 picks. Who would have known that? Who would have thought what the damage would be if they had done it back in October, November? They waited till the very last minute and they still gave away too much. And maybe they got, maybe they got a little excited. Maybe they thought, Philadelphia was lurking in the background. And that was the only issue. That's the only reason why this, to be honest, Jim, that's the only reason why this trade was so costly. Philadelphia was lurking in the background.
That's what I felt. I felt like they were able to drive, market value up.
It's a bid, right? It's a bidding war. It's like an auction all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Right? And Philadelphia could have had no intention to make the trade. But the fact of the matter is that since they were there to try and get James Harden with a trade, it just makes the price of him, the value of him, go up so much more. And he is a valuable player. Who knows?
So are they championship level in your eyes now, or were they before?
They're championship level. This defense is Swiss cheese if I've ever seen it, domestic. And on top of that, who's going to share the ball? I know everyone's like, that's a cliche, but it's a real question, and it's something that real basketball fans can ask. That is a real issue. How are you going to share the ball? And I think there's just a lot of ego. And I was listening to Brian Windhorst a month ago, and he explained it like this on his show. He said, those three guys could get into a room together. They could go, we're going to win. We're going to do great. We're going to go out there. We're going to be the best. Okay, everyone hands in. Team on 3. 1, 2, 3, team. And they walk out the hallway towards the court, and then 2 seconds later, Kyrie Irving can't be found, and he's tweeting something. And he's saying something to the media. Or he's saying, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't like it. I'm having reservations. It can happen to Kevin Durant. He can go 1, 2, 3 team, walk out the door and go, I don't know if it's working out. And same with James Harden. That's the issue. The real NBA insiders, the real reporters who get the scoops and talk to these guys say, that is very plausible. And if they say it's plausible, I agree. And it's good to have a team to talk about. Guess what? For the Nets, marketing, television money, all of it, it was worth it in the long run then. This makes up for all the move to Brooklyn. This makes it up. This makes it worth it. You're in New York City. You're making all that money. You're in the middle of the media of, television entertainment and all that other stuff. Then it was worth it for them. For this trade gets them on eyeballs. Even more so. Guarantee you they increase the amount of national games for the Nets by 5 to 10 games.
Well, they'll definitely sell a lot of jerseys.
And they'll sell a lot of jerseys.
That's true.
And if the arena was open, they'd sell a lot of tickets. And guess what? They expect the arena to be open in October, and all three of these guys will be on that team next year. And I think they're in a situation like Miami, where you don't have to win this year. Get to the finals. That's all that matters right now. Next year, after you guys gel, after we draft again, with whatever draft picks we can get, whatever minimum signings we can find, next year is when we gear up. We know each other, just like Miami did. The year Miami against the Oklahoma City Thunder, that was the best Miami team. By far, best Miami team.
So the thing I'm thinking about, and I was thinking about who owns The Rock, during the whole game and everything.
Yeah.
Who's the guy with
Who
3
makes the
seconds
shot?
on the clock?
I knew you were going to go there.
The buzzer's coming. Who is it? Who has it?
Yeah, no, it's a legit problem. Kevin Durant's playing a ton of minutes right now, too.
Yeah.
He's injury prone. He just came off an Achilles injury.
An Achilles tear.
Yeah.
That is that's normally career ending for a lot of guys, a lot of
Klay
basketball
Thompson.
players. I'm surprised he's still playing at the level that he is. That's been the big shocker for me this year when this season started to see him playing as well as he's been playing. So, yeah, I'm shocked with that. If I had to pick one guy that is the guy for right now, it's probably KD because of how many minutes he's
the best
playing.
player on that team by far. Walsh 2411 goes, Kyrie Irving sees everyone else working from home and wants to try to play basketball from home like he's a 2K League player. It's a little harsh, but it's a good joke.
It's true. His handles are kind of like a 2K player.
Yeah, they are. He is like the gold standard for that. Jim, let's talk about, I got a funny story, but let's talk about my hierarchy real quick going into the NFL playoffs.
Let's do it.
Because then I have a funny story. Last week I had, this is the NFL playoffs. Jim, we went 3-6 last week for our NFL picks, and we'll do our picks as well. Last week my power rankings for the top 5 in the NFL were Chiefs, Bills, Packers, Saints, and Steelers. That was 1 through 5. Teams have been eliminated, and to make my top 5, you need to be in the playoffs still. Next week we'll just rank the top 4. We'll just do 4 in the order that I think are most, dangerous team to play, team that's most likely going to win the Super Bowl, all that good stuff. So 1, Chiefs. They still in my number 1 spot. I have to see them play before they get knocked off. Just being fair to the returning champs. 2, Bills. Played a close one against the Colts, but man, Josh Allen looked really good. He looked better than Lamar. Everyone was talking about Lamar Jackson's big game. No one's talking enough about Josh Allen, what he was able to do. 3, Packers. Once again, they were 3 last week. I'm not going to move them. I'm not going to move them until I see them. They're 1 seed. They've earned it. I only just think the Bills are a more dynamic team. That's the only reason why the Bills are ahead of them. 4, Saints. Pretty obvious. I think the Saints looked really good. 5, Browns. Yes, Jim, you heard that right.
Browns in the top 5.
The Browns in the top 5. Beating the Steelers. I mean, it doesn't get better than that. And they handily beat them off of a COVID protocol. I got to give them the 5. They earned it.
That horrible. Whoever the center is for the Steelers has to get fired. For the first 7 seconds
It's like a revolving
of the game.
door.
Oh my gosh! And then so the teams that you're leaving out are the Rams, the Ravens, and the Bucks. They didn't make the top 5 out of the 8 remaining teams.
That is correct.
Okay.
5 plus 3 is 8.
Yep, that's fine.
You were right.
All right, I'm just making sure. I don't think the Bucks deserve to be up there. If anything, I think the Rams might be on the edge there, just because of their defense.
So you don't agree with the Browns being in there?
No, I'm fine with it. I would just say it's a toss-up between the Rams and the Browns.
And I respect that. Yeah. The Rams played really well. They beat the better team.
Yeah, definitely.
They beat a team that I think on paper was better than them.
Yes. Yeah.
That's what I mean.
That was an interesting game as far as it being an NFC West division game in the playoffs. Yeah, I like seeing the division games in the playoffs. I don't know. I feel like there's something extra to play for.
Okay, let's go to the games. Let's do every other like we did last week. Do you want to start or do you want me to go first?
I can start.
So let's do it. Yeah, let's do it every other just so we okay. Yes.
Just like last week, every other.
So yeah, you'll do 1 Saturday game and 1 Sunday game. I do 1 Saturday, 1 Sunday. That way I just want to make sure we each get an NFC and AFC team.
Okay.
That's why I'm saying all this.
Yeah. All right, so I'm going to take the Packers over the Rams.
Okay.
On Saturday.
Okay. We'll write this down after the show. I'll write it down now. You're writing it down now. Okay, so then I got the next game.
Sure.
Ravens at Bills. Give me the Bills. I like them. They're my pick to win it all. So Jimmy's now going to pick Browns versus Chiefs.
Oh, no.
This is the sneaky game.
Do I do my pick on air?
The Browns are coming off a feel-good win. There's 2 scenarios in my mind. The Browns come off the feel-good win. They don't prepare that well for the Chiefs. The Chiefs are professionals. They come out and they blow the doors off. Option 2. The Browns play really good, like they're feeling good after their win. They continue to play really well, and they feel like a team of destiny. And the Chiefs, who got a bye, who have been playing teams really close, come out. Browns bop them on the nose like they did to the Steelers. All of a sudden, I don't know. Browns look like the Giants when they were the wild card team to last win it.
So Andy's known for coming out of bye weeks and being tremendous. Andy Reid it's his thing. That's like his calling card, you know.
Okay.
So, oh man, I think this line is really close too. This 57 points, this over under.
Oh, I think it's over.
I think it's going to be very close to that. So I think it's going to be a high scoring game.
But we're just picking winners.
I know.
Don't make it too complicated.
I'm gonna go with the Browns.
Bold move. Okay, I'm going Saints for Bucks Saints. I think this is where we end Tom Brady's career. I think it's pretty.
You think his career's done?
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah, I think it. I mean, I'd love to see his career end. He annoyed me for all those years.
I know it's crazy to take the Browns, but we got to have like one little crazy pick.
No, you have. Yeah, you have to. And once again, this is a collective for me and Jim.
Yeah, we're working together on this.
Yeah, it's the Super Bowl game where we figure out the tiebreaker. Steven Daniels goes Bills all the way. There you go.
He's got a friend from Buffalo that they text all the time. Yeah, on Sundays.
Bills Mafia. Okay, I gotta tell us a funny story, and then we'll close out the show. So my neighbors behind me, they put up their Christmas tree lights. Looks great. Merry Christmas.
I hope they're not listening.
No, they're not listening to the show. If they did, that'd be funny, and I still would tell this story. I'm not giving names away, so no one worry. I have multiple neighbors. But they have a tree in their backyard which had Christmas lights around it. And this was back in December. I would look out the window and go, are those Christmas tree lights on in the middle of the day? I'm like, yeah, they're on in the middle of the day. Why are they on in the middle of the day? And I thought, okay, maybe it's on a timer. Who knows? Day after day after day after day goes by, and the lights are on 24/7, and they're in the tree. These are Christmas lights in the tree. And it's like a pine tree, kind of like a small pine tree. Almost looks like a Christmas tree in its own right. Like, that's the kind of tree it is. One of those, I guess it's more like a hedge. Anyway, the lights are on every day. So I'm thinking they have a deck, and they probably plugged it in an outlet underneath the deck, and they didn't want to put a timer on it, and so they don't want to crawl underneath the deck every day to get the lights on and off during Christmas time. So they're just leaving the lights on 24/7. Jimmy, you are a volunteer firefighter. What would you think of that fire hazard? Just knowing that it's the Christmas season and they have lights constantly on in the Christmas tree.
And we're 100% sure that this is a real tree?
It's planted in the ground and growing every spring.
Okay, then yeah, I don't know. All the time is...
All day.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, that's a threat for an electrical fire.
And it's always on, you're saying, so...
Always on. When you come upstairs, I'm going to point to the tree, and you're going to say, the lights are on. Because we're past Christmas. It's January 14th. We are 10 days away from a month after Christmas Day. The light is still on. Did they forget about it?
It's probably fine. It's probably fine as far as a fire hazard goes, but I'm worried about their electric bill mostly.
The light's still on, and it's not like you can't see it. If you go outside, it's on right, like their kitchen's right outside of it. You're looking at it every day.
Yeah, that's bizarre.
Okay, fans of Tony's Takes, do I knock on the door and tell them it bothers me? Tomorrow morning, I'm going to wake up and the light's on still. It'll be 8 o'clock in the morning. The lights are still on. What do I do? That would be okay because the tree isn't drying out. Okay, but it's plugged on underneath the deck in an outlet. What happens if that outlet shorts? I don't know. I'm just thinking of all these issues.
Yeah,
and it mainly cosmetically bothers me.
Yeah, I think this is more of an
cosmetic thing.
An aesthetic. Yeah, I think this is you just need to not see this tree.
It's really bothering me.
Yeah,
I don't know why. First of all, why do you put Christmas lights in your backyard? I thought the whole point was people drive by your house.
Yeah, that's I don't get that.
It's like, what is you doing it for me? I hate it. Don't do it for me. I can't stand looking at that thing.
Are they Griswoldian in their light
No,
decorating?
That's the thing. It was just this one tree in the backyard, and it's constantly on.
Wait, do they not?
It's going to turn into the burning bush.
Do they not have any other lights on their house at all?
No, they took them all down.
At all. So it's just the tree.
It's just this one tree. Jim, when I tell you I'm going to take you upstairs after the show and point to the tree, you're going to go, that tree is the only one that's lit.
Exodus chapter 3, burning bush.
Exactly. Let my people go. Let me go and take that down. Steve Daniels says, Karen, leave it alone. That's a low blow. It's a low blow. Okay, Jim, that wraps up today's show. Thanks for coming in. It was a good one.
Yeah, great show. Great show.
Doug Pederson fired.
Wiping the tears away from firings and jokes.
We lose James Harden. Ugh. It's bad. We got bad St. Joe's games. Philadelphia sports are a mess.
Oh, quick live score from the Sixers.
Yeah, do it real quick before I wrap it up.
61-49 against the Heat. We're in the second quarter.
And we're losing.
We're winning.
Oh!
We're up 12.
Excellent, because the Sixers are the only team that has to play through COVID testing. Everyone else gets the day off.
Oh, slight.
Okay. Thanks to everyone listening to Tony's Takes. We really do appreciate that all of you spent your Thursday night with us, so thank you for coming here. If this is your first time here listening to us on YouTube, make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube. Double-click the notification bell. That way you get notified every time we go live. In addition, make sure to subscribe to us on Apple Podcast. Leave a 5-star review, a written 5-star review. It gets read on the show. That's a promise. Also, make sure to email the mailbag, tonystakes.1851@gmail.com. When you do that, we showed it today. Your takes get read out loud here on the show live. So make sure to do that. And thanks to everyone who was able to take time out of their busy day to write us their great takes. We really do appreciate it. Finally, don't forget, we have our special edition podcast with the Goal of Standard coming out. I'm going to upload the recording to YouTube. I'm going to upload the recording to Apple Podcasts. That way you can hear Jim and I go after the LaSalle crew in a St. Joe's LaSalle preview. And that way you can hear us defend the great institution that is, the great Jesuit institution that is St. Joe's. We're going to beat the Christian Brother-run LaSalle University. That's for sure, Jim.
Let's go Hawks.
Let's go Hawks. Once again, thanks everyone for tuning into today's episode of Tony's Takes, and we look forward to seeing everyone right here on YouTube next week, next Thursday. The Hawk will never die. Thanks for listening.
The premier sports talk radio, it's Tony's Takes.
Here we go.